We've been given a whooping 20 minutes to discuss how to secure the future. So we'll not lose a second of that future and launch right in. One of the key consequences of the Russian invasion of Ukraine was a pretty obvious shift of the center of gravity in Europe to the east. Leadership of Europe and to a certain extent of NATO has moved from European powers like France and Germany to the Lithuanias and Romanias of this world. So I'm thrilled to be here with two good friends. And let me begin by asking you, why is that? Why have you been so vocal? Why have you become drivers within NATO? Is that just because you're so much closer to the front lines, or is there anything else at play? Please.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here. I think it's three things, 3 points. First of all, of course, perception of Russia. If you look, just a decade ago, we had a big discussion on Nord Stream, and we Lithuanians, Baltics, Polish, saying all the time, look, it's not working with Russia. You need to contain, you need to be from a strong position. If you are from a strong position, you can have a peace. It's a peace through strength, Ronald Reagan concept. And we heard different arguments. If we will have a trade, it will create interdependency, Russia will not go to a war, and so on. And it braked. I mean, we were on the side of the truth. And I think the perception of Russia started to dominate now. So that's why it's one factor of moving to our region. Second thing is, of course, defense spending. If you look at all our countries, what we are doing now, Estonia 3%, Latvia 3%, Lithuania from the last week 3%, Poland, 4% ambitious. Wow, what we are doing now, and we are purchasing. So it's a big thing. Romania doing very well. Patriot system, everything, which was unknown for our region. So I think it's also very important. Third is support to Ukraine. Lithuania and our countries, Baltic countries, signed the agreement with Ukraine for several years to support at least for 0.25 of GDP annually. So it means if you collect all NATO countries on 0.25, you have more than Russia gives the money, resources to the war in Ukraine. So it's also some kind of leadership showing what we are treating the existential threats. But I will not underestimate for example, what we are center of gravity. If you look on NATO defense plans, Germany's factor, US factor is still vital. It's a vital thing. And Germany, with Zeitenwende, with Pistorius' leadership, is moving forward. And for us, it's a crucial thing. German brigade in Lithuania, which we are working on now, it's a big thing. I mean, it's a big deterrence factor. So it's like I can see some moves. Yeah, I agree with you, but still it's not so simple. I mean, Germany and absolutely United States presence in Europe is an existence factor for free and secure Europe.
You've just earned 5 extra points for mentioning Zeitenwende. The Munich Security Conference is the copyright holder of that term.
Oh.
So thanks for that. Yeah. How about Romania, Andrei?
First of all, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here. It's a great privilege and an honor to be here. So I would say that we both celebrate, so Romania and Lithuania, 20 years since we are part of NATO this year. So we are not anymore the children, the NATO children, but we became adults, so we've started to speak openly about...
You've just left college, I guess.
Exactly. We started to speak openly about our needs. I remember in 2015 when Romania, together with Poland, we've created an initiative called B9 Forum, so Bucharest 9. So all the 9 countries from the eastern flank of NATO, we meet from time to time, to discuss about which are our needs. And Romania, of course, since the very beginning was together with Ukraine, and we will be together with Ukraine, and we will support Ukraine as long as it takes, because we share the longest border with Ukraine of any NATO EU members. So the existential threat coming from Russia to NATO is something that nobody expected, before 2021. So we strongly believe that it's our mission, to defend the eastern flank. And of course, Romania has started to invest 2% from its GDP in defense after Russia illegally occupied Crimea in 2014. But more than that, we started to invest 2.5% starting this year from our GDP in defense. We've purchased a lot of weapons, Patriot. We just donated a Patriot system to Ukraine a few weeks ago, and we have ordered F-35. We have F-16 HIMARS, the first country in Europe that ordered HIMARS, and we strongly believe it's our mission to invest more. And of course, leading in terms of contributions, but in the same time, we build Rammstein of the East, so a very large base at the Black Sea shore, to be ready, to defend our country and our nation. And Romania has experienced 14 Russian invasions in the last 150 years, Romania and Romanian territories, the last one being in the 40s. So we know very well the only way, to discourage Russia is, to invest a lot in your capabilities. And, of course, strengthening deterrence and defense on the NATO side, ensuring the NATO presence at the brigade level and regional plans that quickly meet the need. Industrial base is something really important to us. And I strongly believe that NATO will be in a very good position in the coming years. And we have to reinforce this industrial base. It's going to take some time, but we are ready. And we see a large cooperation, a large opportunity for cooperation between NATO and EU here, And I'm pretty sure, all the NATO countries, they have together like more than 1 billion people now, If you compare Russia with NATO when it comes about weapons and ammunition and facilities, it's 10-1, when it comes about, in the favor of NATO. So I'm pretty sure that Ukraine can win this war. And of course, it's critical and it's urgent to win this war because it's about our security, our freedom, as I told you. So Romania is the country that shares the longest border with Ukraine and of any NATO EU members.
See, so our speaker's briefing and probably the documents that you had said we should talk about the Lithuanian-Romanian alliance. We are not going to do that. I'm sorry, foreign policy, because you both agreed the alliance is great, the relationships are wonderful. Let's talk about the alliance at large. And let's begin by, you having now been there for 20 years. What do you think it's going to look like in the next 20? Will Ukraine be a member?
First of all, I would say what we have some change in the thinking of alliance and then planning. We went from a deterrence by punishment concept to deterrence by denial. So it means we're a little back to Cold War thinking to have more troops on the line for deterrence, of course. Deterrence as a main factor, if it's needed to defend the NATO country. So I think it's a crucial change. And our new defense plans are based not only on what we have in hands, and according to it we make a plan, but to make a plan which hires expectations from all NATO countries to move forward with capabilities and to fill the gaps. So I think it's a very, very important. We still have many gaps: air defense, long strike capabilities, and we need to fill. It's so-called targeting gaps. So you know a picture of what you need, and you need to invest. And that's why I can say that 2% is already yesterday. 0.5%, it's a good thing to talk now as a minimum of floor. Even for us, we already thinking about more than 3%, I would say. It's reality. If you want to fill the gaps, it's reality. If you look at Russia, what they are doing, they are establishing themselves much more faster than we expected. I will give you an example where they produce the ammunition 152, we 155, they 152. So before the full-scale war, they produced 400,000 rounds. Now, in 2 years, in the sanctions, in the isolation, so they produce 2 million rounds per year. So you see, it's a war economy. If you want to adequately react to it, to counterweight it, you need to move faster, especially industrial base. On Ukraine, you know, our countries are on the side of invitation as fast as possible, but it's not easy to agree on that, and it's a reality. The problem here is what we are sending the signal to Russia, what they can have an informal veto power on NATO enlargement, and it's not good. It's not working. We should think about that.
I mean, I remember the NATO summit in Bucharest in 2008, when we fully agreed that Ukraine and Georgia, you know, have to be part of NATO, and it never happened. But what we see right now is a bunch of defense treaties being signed between Ukraine and a number of countries, including United States, you know, the European Union, and other countries. And this is really important because this you know, might create another reality that comparing with what happened, you know, when the invasion started. Then, of course, the most important thing to be part of NATO is you have the security guarantees and you are under the protection of Article 5. But for Ukraine now is essential to, you know, to receive weapons and ammunition. You know, it's critical, you know, to defeat Russia in Ukraine. And if that is going to take place, you know, we could speak about another reality. So a reality in which, you know, one of the strongest armies in the world, I'm speaking about Ukraine, of course, you know, is going to, you know, to be part of NATO. So I'm pretty sure that Mr. Putin will fight until the very end not to let you know, Ukraine to be part of NATO. But we would like to assure Mr. Putin that we will stay together with Ukraine, you know, until Russia is going to be defeated in Ukraine.
Thank you. You mentioned the 2% debate, the 2.5% debate in Germany. We currently have the 2.014 debate. Very happy about that at the moment. But when I travel through the United States, I have a feeling that the 2% debate is so 2022-ish. And it's really about resilience, that the next US administration, whoever it may be, will push Europe to do more on resilience. You Americans do a hell of a lot on resilience. We do not yet enough in their view. Lithuania has a very particular experience with resilience in China. What do you think the role of NATO versus China is? We've had a panel with Elbridge Kobe here earlier today, where he said, you know, the US should do less within NATO and let the Europeans worry about Europe and do more on the Indo-Pacific, and we shouldn't change the mission statement of NATO to look in that direction. Any views on that from Lithuania?
Just a few words on 2%. If you count all EU, NATO countries, already today it's a 2% average. So with Germany 2%, we came all as an average 2%, so it's a celebration day. So 23 members of NATO now is more than 2% from 32. So it's some move. Of course, not revolutionary, but evolutionary. On China, I will be frank and realistic. It will be very hard to agree. It will be very hard to agree. Lithuania, look at what we don't have any Chinese investment into our critical infrastructure. I personally led the law which banned Chinese telecommunication companies joining the 5G development in Lithuania. We tried to get to our ports, we banned. So we have no big influence. When we opened the Taiwanese representation in Lithuania, we were harassed, we were pressured, and we survived because of our independence from China. But it's Lithuanian model. Maybe Czech Republic could be an example. Other countries, there are some different, approaches. I mean, there are countries in Europe who are saying we want to be a Chinese hub in Europe. So that's why, in this context, to find a common approach on China, especially in the EU, it's hard. It's hard. So it's many things to do.
Romania's view on resilience.
Yeah. So we strongly believe that critical infrastructure, is needed to be protected, and this is why, of course, China is a very great. It's a great player. China, has a lot of influence, but Romania took a very courageous decisions in the past years, with a broad political consensus, is to protect our critical infrastructure and to not allow, different companies, to get in. Romania was the first country in the world signing an MOU with the United States on 5G. In 2019, during Trump administration, Romania took a very serious decision, to cut off with the Chinese company to build our another two nuclear reactors, and we took also a very courageous decision, to protect our infrastructure projects. So this is something that we really care. And in despite of fact we have a good relationship with China, and we respect one China policy, that it is really important to protect our infrastructure and to work only with like-minded partners.
Let's end on narratives. In Germany, our population is split virtually down the middle. 50% think NATO is the best thing ever invented. 50% think it's an unnecessary tool of aggression. How has the narrative in your countries changed over the last 2 years? Is the pendulum swimming one way or the other?
90% of Lithuanians supports membership in NATO, so it's the highest result historically. We have this project now with Germany on German brigade. People were asked, do you support? 88% support German's permanent presence in Lithuania. So it's not about NATO and not about security guarantees. Maybe there are some narratives which competes, but at small scale. It's how, if you making yourself stronger, buying more equipment, is it a way to the peace or it's escalation? This is what Russia is doing. If you give weapons, you remember, give weapons to Ukraine, it will be escalation. No, it will deter. So this is the problem. Deterrence or escalation. Sometimes it's Russian narrative hits, but not about security guarantees or NATO membership.
Is the same true for Romania?
Yeah, according to all the polls we've conducted in the last years, so NATO support is by far, the highest we have ever seen since our integration into NATO. The support for having American military presence in Romania is also very high, which is very interesting because, to answer to a question, if you agree to have American military bases on your soil, that means you agree, that is a risk to be attacked because of that. So, and people there, they really understand what's going on. And more than that, we see the lowest support when it comes about having a good relationship with Russia, in spite of the fact it was not really large in the past. We see. So what's interesting is that for the first time, we see in the past 20 years, an extremist party getting into the Romanian parliament and getting into the European Parliament, but that support has something to do with the crisis we went through. I mean, COVID and 19 and inflation and the energy prices crisis. So we don't see people being very eager to support business as usual relationship with Russia. But we have a lot of malign campaigns, and disinformation and fake news campaigns, in Romania being supported by Russia. And we're pretty sure that we're gonna live with this threat for many years, in the coming years.
Perfect. Being a conference organizer myself, I know that if that red light is on, we've reached the end of our allotted time. Thank you very much for the last 20 minutes. Good luck for the next 2 days here at the NATO Summit.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Please welcome back to the stage FP's Ravi Agrawal.